Hey dear friends, I'm Melanie with Painting Crafty, and today I'm going to be walking you through some simple steps of how to draw this fun springtime set of rain boots, and then I'm going to be showing you how to do the watercolor step afterwards. But no matter what, as long as you have it drawn, you can use any art medium you like. So if you prefer to do acrylic paints, use that. So let's go ahead and start with the basic of the drawing steps. Now, for those who are not interested in drawing and maybe you'd like a little bit of help, you can pop over to my Ko-fi page. It's like a Patreon page. There's where I have a subscription available, very reasonably priced, for the tracers for the drawings that I do on my YouTube channel. You can go ahead and check that out if you'd like a little bit of help or have a reference. I always like having a reference too. So I include a picture of my original in there so you can have a reference to be able to create yours as well. So let's work this down to some basic steps. Let's make me small and the picture big. Let's take a look. So the basic step I'm going to start with here is a longer rectangle shape. So if you look here, here's the rectangle right here. So that is part of my boot right there is where I'm going to start, is that rectangle. Now on the top, if you think of kind of like a little bit of a chimney top, this is going to be a sideways rectangle that's going to come over this way and up and over. This part here, add a little gentle curve to it, like a little slight little smile face. That's going to give it more of a look like it's curving around your boot. And it's going to, I give it a tall look here, just a little bit wider, so it looks like it has a cuff where it's rolled over. Now let's go ahead and make our toe for our boot. We're going to start up here at this level. We're going to come a little bit of an arch, do our roundish toe. Now to make it look like there's a part for an arch of a foot is when we get to about the side here, we're going to start going back a little ways. This is going to be a little bit of the arch of the foot. Then we're going to come down and do a little rounded heel and touch there. So then we would have our toe done. This would be all erased. So once that's erased, all of a sudden now you have your boot shape. Now let's add in a few more shapes that will read like it's a rain boot. And one of the shapes is right here. So it's going to pop up, curve down. I'm going to curve up just a little ways to my back. This shape here gives it that rain boot look. And then of course we have this part right here, which can come all the way down to the bottom of the boot, acting like the heel part, or you can end it a little higher and have a little piece that looks like something like that. So either which way, you can have a little bit of a heel part there. Now we need to do the next one. And if we look at our boot here, if I divide this rectangle about in half, I can take this, measure it with my pencil, or just use my eye quickly, come over and duplicate about that size, half of my boot, and that's where I'm going to start my next rectangle. So again, we would come all the way down the rectangle. We would do this similar shape that we just did here on this side. We would add our toe. We're going to come around. We want to land about in the middle of our toe when we're drawing it. That's going to give it the feeling of that this boot is behind and that one is in front. So there we have it. And we're going to copy our same shape here, half around. And now we have our rain boots already drawn. This little drawing that I did had a grouping of tulips and some just filler flowers and filler leaves in there. And what's giving these flowers that tulip feel is the shape. So to do the shape of a tulip, you're going to have kind of a U shape is what you're going to have. You could do some ruffly bits at the top, come down, make a V, come around, and divide it into two. Put a little bit of another one right here. So that's your third leaf. And if you want to see some behind, you can pop up just a little higher, do a little ruffly bits to add on. Now you don't see a lot of detail in my flowers, in my tulip flowers. You can see a few pencil lines, but basically it's just giving you the feel of that it's tulips. I'm not painting exact tulips. And then for those leaves, which give it the tulip feel as well, is these long, skinny, noodle-like leaves. They're wider here and then they get narrower as they go up. Okay, that's it for drawing our boots. Now again, if you would like to have help, go over there and check the Ko-fi page. It's real simple to join and it's very reasonably priced. Now, if you're new to watercolor, watercolor always starts light and then works your way dark. So it's a little bit opposite than what acrylic paint is. Although if you like to use acrylic paint, use that, use what you're familiar with, and just have some art fun and create with what you want to. Markers, colored pencils, all those different types of things. Now what I did is I started with a light green color. When you start with your watercolor, you want it to be light. You want it to be your lightest color. So you're going to be mixing your paint to tea consistency. Tea consistency means it's more water, less pigment. Now, watercolor wants to travel wherever your paper is wet. So if I don't want it to go down in here, I don't want any water on that part of my boot. I want to leave that part dry, and then my color will stick right where the water is. Now I'm going to pop this in. I'm also going to leave some white areas there because if I cover up all my whites right away, I can't bring them back unless I'm using gouache or something that's highly pigmented with white, so an ink or a little bit of acrylic paint. I can bring my whites back in. So these are my highlights. A good way to think about painting with watercolor is that you're painting your shadows. So this is my first layer. These are my highlights. I'll go darker once I build up my color. Yeah, that's a perfect color. I'm going to do this underneath here to match the bottom of my boot. Let's do this one here. I'm going to try to leave a little bit of white or dry paper between my two surfaces there. That's one way you can paint next to another surface and not have your colors all bleed together. It wouldn't have been so bad if my blues did bleed together there because it's the same color. But if you can leave just a dry piece in between your two colors, that will stop that color from blending up into each other. Now my color is wet up here. I'm going to tap in a little bit darker green. I'm going to choose one side and tap in a little bit darker. This is called a wet on wet technique. When your paper is already wet and you tap another color in, that's what it's called, a wet on wet. And my colors are going to do, I like to call it watercolor magic, because my paint is going to mix and blend and create their colors. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add another bit of green. My paper is a little bit dry, but it's still like this. My green, as you can see a little bit happen here, blend into my blue. I'm okay with that. Those colors will play fine together and they won't create mud. So I'm good with that, but I'm going to come in with a little darker green and I'm going to add my next layer. Now I'm not going to try to cover up everything I just put on because those are my lightest lights. I'm going to come in though and add another layer, another color down, a little bit darker color. And that's how I'm going to do it for all of my areas. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this video up a little bit and let you watch me create this watercolor and see what happens as we develop it. Let's go ahead and do a little bit more doodling on this picture. On my original, I didn't really do any doodling on the picture, so I left it more of a pencil, but I'm thinking I might want to add a little bit of more doodles and see what that looks like. So I'm going to come in and just choose a few areas of where I might want to add a little bit of doodling. Now I'm not following exact, so I'm not outlining it per se, but I'm doing a little doodling. I'm going past my images even, going quickly, holding my pencil or my micron pen loose. The looser you can hold it, the more interesting line work you're going to get. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to cover everything. That was with the micron. If you want to pop a little bit of light in, you could always take a Uniball pen. The Uniball Signo is a great white ink, makes wonderful little white lines. I like to reserve white, rather like a little bit of adding some glitter. So I'd like to go sparingly, put it in as some really bright bits of white is how I like to use my white pen. And I like to scribble, so I'm going to be adding a little bit of some scribble bits. Now this is all optional to add in if you want to. If you're not interested in it, it's still going to look great even without all of this little extra little bits. Well, that's it for this drawing. It is super fun to see this spring drawing. Hopefully you'll give it a try. If you do, you can always go on my Facebook page, Painting Crafty, and there you'll see a sign of this drawing announcing that we're going to be doing this drawing. I usually go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 o'clock Central, and this will be the drawing. So you can go ahead and pop yours underneath. I always think it's a great idea to share others people's work because it does not have to look like mine to be good, and you inspire other people to try as well. So that is it, my friends. If you found this interesting or helpful in drawing or watercolor, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd so like it if you did. Give me a thumbs up. YouTube loves it. I've got a little small channel, so I appreciate any of the help you might be able to give me. Thanks for stopping and taking an art break with me, and hopefully you'll come back and join me again.